Hello and welcome back to Conference 1. We have some exciting Valorant to talk about. I'm over here with Dane, the Valorant aficionado.
That's me. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I am very excited today because this is the end of Group Split 1. We're about to start Group Split 2, and there's a lot to talk about. We're going to unpack all of Group Split 1. We're going to talk about who's leading the pack right now, what to expect from Split 2, who didn't make it, moment of silence for those who didn't make it. Now, let's hop into it. Let's not waste any time because we got a lot to do, and we're supposed to keep the show around 10 minutes, right? So, starting in the West. SJSU, everybody's number one pick. They're the number ones on most people's power ranking except for Scotty, but he's got a secret formula. We're not sure what it is. Nobody's sure what it is. No
Secret
one is.
sauce.
Yeah, secret sauce. But everybody thinks SJSU is the number one team. They're crazy strong, right? I'm pretty sure they've taken on some pros and they've held their own. And they've emerged number one of West Division, which is already the killer league. Now they have on paper dropped the game, but it was a disqualification. I'm not sure what the circumstances surrounding that were. It was a forfeit to who was it? It was Cal Golden Bears, and they only dropped one round the entire split to Cal Poly Pomona.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
That sounds like a kind of a strong team.
Yeah, a very strong team, especially in the killer league. And WGA now sitting in second is in an interesting spot because they're in second, but they've dropped a lot of games. Now, they've only lost one set. They've only lost one set to SJSU, but they've dropped a lot of games. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it, because the games they do drop are the first game of the best 2 out of 3 set. So maybe they're experimenting. Maybe they have like a download complete sort of thing where they can
or they play better at the disadvantage.
Yeah, maybe they just need the pressure to turn them into diamonds. Either way, they weren't able to pull out the victory versus SJSU with that strategy, and they've dropped a lot of games, which is why you see on a lot of people's power rankings they're a lot lower than you might expect.
Well, good teams don't drop games.
True. Good teams like SJSU. And also you see Irvine, who dropped significantly less games, although they did lose the set ultimately to WGA and SJSU. They're sitting pretty at third. But they didn't drop a game outside of the 2 they lost to. So Cal Golden Bears now below them at number 4. They got a forfeit win over SJSU, so maybe their stats aren't entirely accurate. But they also dropped a round to Cal Poly Pomona, but that's it. So also really good team. Like I said, a lot of killers in here. And now Cal Poly, the last team to not be eliminated in West Division, didn't drop a game outside of their losses to pretty much everybody above them. Valorant is
question from the crowd. So of the very stacked West, who has the most to gain? Like who can move up the most realistically? Who could make the biggest splash besides SJSU?
I think Cal Poly, because I mean they're the only ones to take a game off of SJSU, right? They're the only ones. Yeah, only ones who did it. So like they've taken games off of people above them. So they if they just like tweak 1 or 2 things, maybe they can explode really hard onto the scene. Even though they are technically last seed right now going into split 2. I think they can do it big. And Valorant's in this really weird spot in general right now, even in the pro scene where anybody can be anybody, right? Like Sentinels lost to a rando in the open. Most of the teams that won are struggling to even qualify now just because it all changes so much. So really anything can happen in this next split for any of the divisions. Count nobody out. Even though the same teams are playing each other, I guarantee it's not going to look the same.
Right. How about the East?
All right, moving on to the East. East Group 1, I've always called this Rutgers League.
Okay.
And you can see it 9-0. They dropped 1 round to Virginia Tech, who's in second place. They kind of dominated other than that 1 round they dropped. They are very good and they're very confident too. Now Virginia Tech, they dropped some rounds. They dropped 1 to UNF Ospreys, who is a lot like the Cal Poly team, where they're able to take games off of teams that are better than them and have a lot of pop-off potential, and also narrowly avoided elimination. PSU sitting at third in that league. PSU in a very weird spot. I'm not sure if you heard about the controversy. Basically, 3 players kind of forgot they weren't in middle school anymore, and they messed around and got themselves suspended.
Oh, was that the female that was on the other teams? The whole thing? Oh, okay.
Yep. And now they are down 2 players at the start of the split. They are down 1 player permanently, but PSU has been changing the roster a lot anyway, and they still managed to go 7-2. They still managed to take 3rd. So maybe if they could figure their stuff out, if they can pull everything together, stop playing around, stop getting suspended, stop exchanging members, and figure it out, I think they can go maybe a bit farther.
Well, also, changing the locker room can benefit the team in a lot of sports. So maybe getting rid of 3 people, even 2 temporarily, that gives them less options of who to cycle in and out, which will help them solidify that roster.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully, if you're a PSU fan. Now, let's see, Liberty coming in at 4th there. They pretty much dropped rounds to Alabama Crimson, who got eliminated. They got a lot of forfeit win over Tucson, who also got eliminated. They're sitting solidly in the middle, like nothing too crazy there. ONU also right down in the middle. They went 8-8 in their game count. They're beating people below them. They're losing to the people above them, as you would expect. And then the UNF Ospreys now, like I mentioned, they got that pop-off potential. And that's pretty much East Group 1. I think the rematch between Scarlet Knights and Virginia Tech is going to be really exciting. I'm very excited to see the outcome of that, because it could go any way. And once again, PSU possibly bring it together. That's East Group 1. Moving on over to East Group 2. You have the Miami Redhawks, who have taken the lead in that division kind of barely. There's this like trinity right now that rules East Group 2. The Miami Redhawks, UW Gold, and RU Shorty Kings. Miami Redhawks on paper is undefeated, but they had like a super, super narrow victory against the RU Shorty Kings. And UW Gold 2-0 the RU Shorty Kings to become the King of Canada. So that's another one where any of those 3 matches could basically go any way in this second split.
So do you think that for split 2, the East Group is probably one of the more exciting of the rest?
Yeah,
the one where the most is going to happen.
Yeah, East Group 2 is going to pop off. Who knows what's going to happen in that one? Same with West Group 1. I think those were definitely going to be the ones you're going to want to watch. Let's go over to Central now. We got, let's see, TAMU, number 1. This one is going to be a short one because TAMU steamrolled the competition.
TAMU's League.
Yeah, TAMU's League. Just like even against the Blue Demons, the number 2 team, was not close. So that makes me think for split 2, can they do it again? Was that, they were just really good on this patch? Did they just have like this meta figured out? Time will tell. I think they are just that good. But the question you have to ask is like, did they steamroll Central Group 1 or did they steamroll Central Group 1? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What was the competition strong enough?
Yeah, because they could just be rolling up on the lower boys, right place, right time. You just win all your games.
They might have just gotten lucky. Hard to say until after this split is over, and then we move on into the bracket. But before the split's over, we also have to talk about Central Group 2. Now, Central Group 2 basically had 2 kings. You had UH and you had OSU. UH ended up getting the better of OSU in the head-to-head to become the number 1 seed to go 9-0. However, they dropped a lot of games to lower players or to lower teams where OSU did not. So maybe UH just got the better of them that day. That rematch is definitely going to be something you'll want to watch. There's also Western U in that division and MSU Green. Now, on Scotty's power rankings, he's the only one who has MSU Green in his top 10. And I'm not really sure why. Because, yeah, maybe he just likes the underdogs. Maybe he's got a personal bias. He calls it the secret formula. Maybe the formula knows something that we don't. But they took a lot of rounds. They did. From better teams, even though they are fourth seed right now in Central Group 1. I mean, like I said, pop-off potential is always there.
Clean up your act, get more wins.
It can happen. It can happen from any of these teams. So moving into Group 2, like I said, nothing I think will be the same. I don't think we're going to see the same teams on top in a lot of these divisions. Anyone from Redhawks or UW Gold or Shorty Kings can claim number 1. Anyone from UH or OSU can claim number 1. Rutgers, maybe it's not Rutgers League anymore. Maybe Virginia Tech is upset with their cockiness and they got something to say about it. The West, who knows what's going to happen in the West?
Yeah, we have a very competitive Conference 1 here. And it sounds like Split 1 was phenomenal, and Split 2 will be very different. So, Dane, thank you so much for coming on. Leagues with competition are the best leagues, so this might be one of the best leagues we have in esports.
Hey, for my money, I think so.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you for another Conference 1, and we will see you next week.